So the Fujifilm X-T1 was released January of 2014, making it this month 10 years old. I cannot believe the X-T1 is a decade old at this point, and I wanted to make a 10-year anniversary video celebrating the X-T1 because I love this camera. The X-T1 was the camera that got me to switch from shooting full frame. I was shooting Canon and then Nikon for a little while. It got me to switch from shooting full frame to APS-C mirrorless. I love so much about the X-T1. I love the form factor, the usability, that is to say, the dials and just how much sense it makes to use. And the X-Trans 2 has been my favorite image sensor I've ever used. Back in 2020, I made a video talking about why the Fujifilm X-T1 was my favorite camera of all time. And as of 2024, I'm still using the X-T1. Now, what I will say, since 2020, the X100T has become probably my favorite camera of all time, desert island camera. It's the camera I use the most, whether that's getting photos of my kids or exclusively taking only it on trips, and even to get wrist shots because I'm really into watches and I'm a nerd like that. But the X-T1 is still my favorite interchangeable lens camera of all time. As a matter of fact, the X-T1 and the X100T are the only two cameras I have, and it's been that way for several years now. But I've owned the X-T1 for 8 years, and I've shot a ton with it. Everything from portrait sessions to weddings to landscapes and fireworks on the 4th of July. And I even use it to shoot real estate. It is such a fun camera to use. The feel of it in hand, operating the dials. The autofocus system is plenty fast for anything that I do. And the image quality is still so good. I love this sensor. As a matter of fact, having the classic chrome preset available in Lightroom because it's in this camera, that has kind of revolutionized for the last 8 years or so the way my photos look, the style that I have as far as post-processing. I shoot 100% raw, and 95% of all the photos that I edit, I use classic chrome as a starting point in Lightroom. And then I edit from there. I boost vibrancy, contrast, mess with the exposure, and do local adjustments, and mess with color temperature. But the base, 9 times out of 10, is going to be classic chrome. But I just get so much pleasure out of using this camera. I honestly never get tired of the images that this sensor can produce. And like I said, I even use it to shoot the odd real estate listing, and really it works great for that. But over the years, I've gotten so many photos that I just love using the X-T1. It has been such a faithful companion over the years, whether I'm shooting a wedding with it, or getting fireworks shots on the 4th of July, or whether I want to throw on the macro lens and get some up-close shots of some watches. It's just such a fun camera to use. And it's a camera that has stood the test of time for me, no matter if I was using it to shoot professional gigs or if I was using it to shoot photos of my kids. Given that there are so many great options in terms of Fujifilm's lenses or even third-party options, the sky's the limit with pairing some great glass with this camera. When I think about the 56-1.2, which is just a Hall of Fame lens for me, I love that lens. That lens with this sensor is just, chef's kiss. And really, the autofocus with that lens is not as bad as you would think, especially if you're doing portrait stuff. It's definitely fast enough for portraits, and it's accurate enough. Or slap on the 60mm 2.4 macro lens, a lens that I think is very underrated in the Fujifilm catalog. That lens, paired with this sensor, is also so nice, and get some really cool macro shots of watches. Like I said, I'm a watch geek, so I'm constantly taking photos of watches. And when I want to get some more up-close, tight shots, the X-T1 and the 60mm, that's the combo I go with, and I love it so much. Not only that, but that same combo is what I use to take my favorite photos of cats that I've ever taken. And the colors, the sharpness that the lenses and the sensor produce is just so good and so fun and easy to work with in post. This camera is just such a joy. It's such a joy in every way. It's such a joy to use. It's fun to use. The images it spits out make editing fun and enjoyable. It's just been such a phenomenal camera that has given me so much fun and so many good images over the course of the 8 years I've owned one. But I think the X-T1 is the camera that kind of started it all. I know the X Pro one came out before it, and even the XE1, I believe, as well as the X100. But because of the X-T1, we now have all the way through X-T5. We have the XH line. I would guess that the X-T1 being as successful as it was made the X series viable for the future. I think if it were to have flopped, then we likely wouldn't have had what we have today in terms of the Fujifilm APS-C lineup. But at any rate, I just wanted to make a 10-year anniversary video praising the Fujifilm X-T1, the absolute home run that Fujifilm put out right out of the gate to launch, to get the ball rolling on the X series lineup. And heck, for people like me, it's so good that I don't need any of the newer generations. I did shoot with a Fujifilm X-T2 for several years when I was doing more paid work. But since paid work is few and far between for me, there's no need for me to have it. And the X-T1, 10 years later, is still all I want. So at any rate, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to me gush about this camera. I hope you enjoyed the photos that I've shown and that I've gotten with this camera over the years. Thanks, and I will see you in the next video.